While I was under the weather, Moda Blockheads Quilt Along started, and during that time I was going back and forth with myself on whether should I join, should I not, and last week I said yes. And if you follow me on my YouTube community tab, you got a sneak preview of my very first block made. Now, with all that said, I will be 2 weeks or so behind, but as always, it is never too late to join the quilt along. You can always go at your own pace. Now, do keep in mind that these are not my patterns, so I will have all of the links down below in the description for each block, as well as the introduction, fabric requirements, etc. Everything that you will need. Now, Moda Blockheads is available in two block sizes, 12-inch and a 6-inch. Now, I originally was only going to do the 12-inch blocks, but y'all were so excited to see that I will be doing this sew along. And at the very last minute, I ended up changing my mind again, and I'm now doing both sizes. Now for my fabrics, I am using scraps that I have left over. Now I am a little bit worried that I might not have enough scraps or like in the correct sizes for both sizes. So for the large 12-inch blocks, I am using the wonderful print collection shown here called The Season of Tribute, Listen to Your Heart by Sharon Holland from Art Gallery Fabrics. Now, yes, I know I should be using Moda fabrics, but like I said, I really need to use up my scraps here. And then for the smaller 6-inch blocks, I am going to be using coordinating solids, which I'll show you after I create this larger block. Now, last thing to mention before I get started is for the lap size, it says you need about 11 to 12 fat quarters for a scrappier look, or roughly 2 yards of assorted prints for the blocks. So I should have enough because I do have a 12 count fat quarter bundle just in case too. But like I said, I do want to try my best to only use up my scraps. But now that everything is out of the way, let's finally create the bonus quilt block called the Autograph Star. Now I went ahead and already cut my fabrics for the 12-inch block. Now do note on screen these smaller rectangles are actually the wrong size, and I don't realize that until later on in the video. They should be much larger. But moving forward, you're going to take your background 3.5-inch squares, and on the wrong side you're going to draw a 45-degree line with a fabric marking tool. Then you're going to take a print and a background 3.5-inch square and place them on top of each other, right sides together, and sew a 1/4-inch seam allowance on both sides of the line that you just drew. Now you're going to cut on the line with a rotary cutter or fabric scissors to create 2 half square triangles. Now for this bonus block, you need a total of 8 half square triangles. So I selected 4 different prints to create a scrappier looking star. You can make them all the same or every other point different, whichever you prefer. Now for the center, you need 3 2.5-inch by 6.5-inch rectangles, and you're going to sew them together. And this is when I realized that they are too small, so I went ahead and cut the correct size out. And now we are going to sew them together with a 1/4-inch seam allowance to create the center portion. And now that that center is properly made on my account, it is time to form our bonus autograph star block. So you're going to sew your blocks together to form rows, and then lastly sew those rows together to complete your block. Now your block should measure 12.5-inch squared. Now you can square your block up now, but since this is a quilt along and we have no idea what's coming up next, I highly recommend you trim all your blocks at the very end. That way they will surely all be the exact same size. But let's go ahead and now make the smaller 6-inch size. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I want to use coordinating solids for the smaller blocks and a tiny sprinkle of the prints. So for my solids, I am using Desert Dunes, Tiger Lily, Summer Sun, Swimming Pool, and Evergreen, all from Pure Solids by Art Gallery Fabrics. But moving forward, you're going to take your background 2.5-inch squares, and on the wrong side, draw a 45-degree line with a fabric marking tool. And then you're going to take a print and background 2.5-inch square and place them on top of each other and sew a 1/4-inch seam allowance on both sides of that line that you just drew. Then you're going to cut on the line with a rotary cutter or fabric scissors to create 2 half-square triangles. And once again, for the bonus block, you need a total of 8 half-square triangles. Now your half-square triangles should measure as a 2-inch square, but I highly recommend you take the extra time and square up your half-square triangles to be 100% sure. Because when you're working with smaller blocks, you need to be much more precise. So as you can see here, even I had a little bit trimmings that I needed to do. I'm not perfect, and that's okay. We just need to take that extra time with these smaller quilt blocks, but either way, you can do it. Now, once our half square triangles are trimmed, we are going to now sew our 1.5-inch by 3.5-inch rectangles together with a 1/4-inch seam allowance to complete the center portion of our block. Now next we are going to form our block layout and sew everything together with a 1/4-inch seam allowance by sewing our blocks together to form rows, and then lastly sew our rows together to complete the 6-inch block. Now, I do hope you have enjoyed today's tutorial. Once again, I will have all of the links down below in the description so you can join the Moda Blockheads 5 quilt along. And if you could please hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can be notified for your next amazing quilt project.